Welcome to Fight Waves. Audio Journeys by Kung Fu Academic. I'm Verca Partikova, and I would like to take you behind the scenes of fighting, living in a training camp in Thailand, and my lifelong journey through the martial arts. I am the Kung Fu Academic, earned my PhD in sports psychology, after which I decided to leave academia to become a professional fighter. Step with me into the ring to share the raw reality, the continuous search for mental strength, and all the ups and downs. This episode is about first steps in chasing the dreams. 10 years ago, I moved to Hong Kong, and it was a big dream coming true for me. And today I want to tell you about the first hours, the first weeks, the first month of my life in Hong Kong, where I spent 8 years. And after that, I moved to Thailand, which was 2 years ago. The reason why I moved to Hong Kong is because when I was back at home in the Czech Republic, I was already training Hungar or Hung Kyun Kung Fu, and Hong Kong is one of the centers for that. So when I came to Hong Kong to visit and to join a competition, I saw the level of the techniques and of the martial arts, and I was like, wow, this is so much different than back at home. And I was when I returned home, I was even kind of depressed because I felt like, or frustrated rather. I felt like, okay, so this doesn't really like make sense. So I'm like trying to chase something here. So I rather stop or I move over there. And so then I start working on how would it be possible to move to Hong Kong, and one of the ways, since I just finished my master's degree in social education, which I couldn't do in Hong Kong because I don't speak any of the minority languages, or I couldn't speak Cantonese. So actually, I couldn't really find a job in the social work sector, neither really in the education sector. So the only thing I could do, and what lots of foreigners do, was to teach English. And since I have an accent, as you can hear, I couldn't really work in a school, but I could work at the tutorial centers, which are like everywhere, and that's where the kids go, to do their homeworks and to study after school, where they spend their weekends and so on. Now, when I see a center like this, I already feel sick. So the reason for me to move to Hong Kong was to study Kung Fu from the source. And so I started searching for the job, and the problem was that I was still based back at home, and I was searching online, and I was having interviews on Zoom. And it would be much easier if I could just be in Hong Kong and try to get the job over there, but I just couldn't afford it to fly there and to stay there for a bit, because Hong Kong is one of the most expensive places in the world. So I was applying every day for about a year, and every morning I would wake up and check my inbox, and then there was nothing, or there was just like negative responses, until I found a job as a English teacher in this like really shitty tutorial center. And I knew it's a bad job, but it was my ticket to Hong Kong. It was my way how to get there, how to study Kung Fu from the source. So of course I took it, and I had to write a letter for the immigration explaining how come I am applying for a job as an English teacher when I am actually Czech. I'm not, English is not my first language. But somehow it worked out thanks to my degrees, and I don't know all the reasons that I wrote down in the letter. And then on the 24th December, as a Christmas present, I received an email from the immigration that it was approved. And then 1 week later, I was on the plane. And that was so stressful because one thing is to dream about it, but the other thing is to be on the plane with the backpack of your belongings, and there's nothing on the other side. There's like nothing there. There was just my kung fu. That was always like a lighthouse for me, giving me some kind of sense of safety, and that was like my center that helped me when I felt like I'm being lost or I'm being stressed. And so I arrived, and my friend Chico, her grandma, she lived in Chuan Wan, which is one part of Hong Kong, basically the other side of Hong Kong than where my job was, which was I don't remember, but like very close to the Chinese border. So it took like an hour to travel. Um, and so her grandma was so kind to like let me stay with her for I think a week or two before I found my own flat. And now the space in Hong Kong is so small, there is nothing such as like having a spare bedroom. I have a spare bedroom now in Thailand, but that's like sci-fi in Hong Kong. So she had a spare bed, but not exactly. There were like things on the bed, and there were no other place to put the things. So she just like moved them a little bit. So I had like half of the bed that was for me to sleep on, and there was no shower. She had to like boil water in a kettle, and then like we would use a little towel and a plastic kind of a sink to shower. It was like really old flat, and she couldn't speak anything in English, like not a single word. And my Cantonese was like very very sad. And so we tried to communicate, hands, using hands, and she would cook for me every morning some chicken and rice. And for a long time I thought, oh, this is what like people in Hong Kong eat for breakfast. But then it turned out she was just trying to like make sure that I have enough energy for my work. But that's actually like not a breakfast for people usually. But she was so kind. But so there I was, sitting on that half of the bed that belongs to me, and I was like, I can I do this? Like, should I just go back home? Am I able to survive this? And I had no return ticket, of course. And I was like, well, if I go home now, like, what would people think? They will be like, oh, she's a loser. I cannot go home now. I need to try this. See if I can make this happen. And at that time, I arrived. I planned to stay in Hong Kong for 1 year, and then it turned out it was 8. So yeah, so my job was teaching English, basically like a tutoring, uh, 6 days per week in this like little room without windows. I had half an hour for lunch, and it was really bad. Like, if I say bad, it was like really bad. I had the classes were like overlapping. There was like a private class for a student in the middle of a group class of other students, and there was only me, in the room to teach like different classes at the same time, and everyone had like a different textbook. Yeah, it was really bad. Plus, I was like instructed not to talk aloud when the parents were around, so they would not like hear my accent. And in case someone asked me, I was supposed to say, "Oh, I'm from Europe." Like, "Oh, which country?" "Europe." So yeah, so this was going, but it was obviously pretty miserable. I was trying to find another job, so I would spend 6 days at work, and the seventh day on Sunday I will try to go for interviews and try something better. But yeah, so that was the first few months, and by the second week, I think I found my first flat. I moved maybe like 5 or 6 times during those 8 years. And in this flat, I actually stayed for like almost 3 years, 2.5 years at least. It was in Sha Tin Wai, which is like a really nice area with a river, not far from where my job was. And so I basically just rented a room in this flat, which has 3 rooms, no kitchen, and like a common bathroom. Now the shower, oh sorry, the toilet was actually inside the shower. So like when you shower, you would make the toilet wet as well. And because there was no kitchen, my flatmates who came from mainland China and couldn't speak a word English, and I couldn't speak Mandarin, 普通话, Chinese. So they used to cook in the bathroom, and we had this like a fridge, just like when you enter the room, the flat, and it was like so dirty that when the fridge was open, I could smell that it's open through the door in my room. My room was like very small, of course. It was the biggest one of the flat, but if I sit on the ground, basically I could like touch the wall with my back and the opposite wall with my toes. And I had a bunk bed, so there was like a table and a wardrobe underneath the bed to save some space. So actually, it was like pretty spacious for Hong Kong. And I lived in the 26th floor, so I could see some of the rooftops of the other buildings, and some of them they had like a little garden on it. So in the evening, I would sit on my bed and look down on the rooftops, and I was telling myself, hold on, don't worry, this is gonna pass. It's gonna be better. I'm sure this is gonna get better. Like you will get better. And so I spent like almost 3 years in this flat. Yeah. Of course, I live with some cockroaches as well. Like you cannot avoid this. They are everywhere. And lots of people told me that if I have a job in Hong Kong, that there is no way I could train kung fu. That I would be working overtime and so on. But I still made it happen. Basically, I had only 2 things. I had my work and I had trainings. That's it. So my only social circle was like in the kung fu school, where there was like not much English spoken. So often I didn't basically like talk to people in days. Which was like, of course, very lonely, isolating, very hard few years. And the entire time, I was also trying to apply for a spot at the university to do my PhD, because in my head, I was thinking, well, this could be a way out. I could be studying my PhD, which would give me some kind of income, and at the same time I could be training. This could be better than what I'm doing right now, because like, of course, I'm not an English teacher. Like this is not what I want to do. This was just like my way in to Hong Kong, and it took half a year maybe. I applied for a fellowship, which is like the highest tier of a scholarship paid by the government, and there are only like 200 places per year for all the universities, all the subjects, all the subjects in total. So it's very competitive, and it only happens once per year. So that half a year later, they messaged me or they called me and they told me, okay, so your fellowship application you didn't get the spot, but we put your application into the university level and you got the scholarship. So that was in June, half a year since I got to Hong Kong. And so that time I already landed a second job, which was a bit better, but still. And so I went home for the summer, and then in September I started my PhD studying martial arts, which was something, I would say, coming to Hong Kong to learn Kung Fu right in Hong Kong, like directly from the source, was one thing, like was one dream coming true and unbelievable. But also studying a PhD about martial arts, that was like I didn't know that's possible. I didn't even think about that. But then like, why not, right? There are lots of people doing that. But I will tell you about this in some other episode. Thank you for listening. Make sure you follow me on my socials, where you can also ask questions, or you subscribe to my irregular newsletter on my website.